Okay.
Okay, the hour of 6 o'clock has arrived. We'll go ahead and call to order the regular scheduled meeting of the Valley County Planning and Zoning Commission. Today's date is January 9th, and if we'd have a roll call, Cindy?
Commissioner Schneider,
Here.
Potter,
Here.
Roberts,
Here.
Mabe,
Here.
Oyarzo.
Here.
We have a full commission.
Hey. At this point in time, I know we don't have a lot of folks in the audience, but I'm sure there's some people listening online, but I'd like to take a few moments and welcome the two new members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And it is our intent that once we get through the orders of business for today, we'll take a few minutes and kind of share background so we get to know each other a little bit, and we'll spend a little time doing that. So welcome aboard.
Thank you. Glad to be
Forward
here.
Working with you both, so. Okay, first item on the agenda this evening are the minutes for December 12th, 2024. Is there any discussion or motions?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from December 12th, 2024.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of December 12th, 2024. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the motion has passed. Okay, under old business, today we have conditional use permit 24-27, the Sal Ranch subdivision. This is a final plat. It is not a public hearing. Cinda, could you proceed with staff report? First of all, is there any conflicts of interest or ex parte contact on this application?
No.
None?
No.
Okay. Seeing none, Cinda, go ahead.
Okay, the staff report for CUP 2427, Sal Ranch subdivision final plat. Property owner is Stephen M. Landrum. David Crawford is requesting final plat approval. The commission will review the final plat to determine conformance with the preliminary plat, approved densities, and the conditional use permit. Original approval was for a two-lot, single-family residential subdivision on 14.2 acres. There's an existing residence and an outbuilding within Lot 1. Individual septic systems and individual wells are proposed. Access would be from Trabert Lane, a public road. The property does not have water rights and has two existing irrigation ditches. And the West Side Lake Fork Lateral Ditch Company has no objection to the proposal. A wildland urban interface fire protection plan was received on September 24th of 2024. Approval of the CUP and preliminary plat were effective October 22nd, 2024. The final plat application was submitted on December 6th. Legal notice was posted in the Star News on December 19th and December 26th, and then posted on the Valley County website September 19th, 2024. Agency comments received regarding the final plat. There was email correspondence between the applicant and Dan Kuntz, Valley County Public Works Engineer, and he stated that the off-site impacts are not required. Road right-of-way already exists for Trabert Lane. Jess Ellis, Downey Fire Marshal, states requirements have been met for the final plat. And Laura Bettis, Westside Lake Fork Lateral Ditch Company, has no objections. Lori Frederick, Valley County Cadastral Specialist, found no discrepancies on the proposed final plat. Staff comments or questions? The applicant shall confirm that water rights will be split and transferred. Both the ditch company and Idaho Department of Water Resources must be notified. Will there be irrigation easements on either lot? How does the irrigation water get to and through these properties? And how would Lot 2 receive irrigation water? A declaration of utilities is required. The plat references wells, septic systems, and electric power. Is fiber or other internet services available? A wildfire mitigation plan was submitted at time of preliminary plat approval. The short form was sufficient as the site is less than 20% forested, and CCNRs are not proposed for this subdivisions. listed the conditions of approval here and tried to state which ones they've complied with. If you go to number 9, there's a fencing plan required with neighbors who run livestock for over 30 days per year. And the property perimeter is currently fenced. So I don't believe that a plan is necessary as long as they continue to maintain that. That would be up to the commission. We could have one created before the final plat. All easements shall be shown on the final plat, and just want to make sure that there aren't any irrigation easements that we were not aware of. And then one of the notes that we typically have on our plat states, lots shall not be reduced in size without prior approval from the health authority in Valley County Planning and Zoning. Plat note 1 needs modified. If you look at the plat, the note currently says lots shall not be, I better go in a couple more there. Lots shall not be reduced in size without prior approval from the health authority. That should probably include in Valley County Planning and Zoning Commission, unless the commission thinks that these should be allowed to be split one time without further platting. This is the plat that has been submitted for final plat, Trabert Lane to the north. Everything else appears to be in order with the signature page proposed. And it is located at this site of the house, Trabert Lane. And that ends my staff report.
Thank you, Cinda. Could you zoom out? Does everybody know where this is located? Maybe zoom out just for a little bit. Lake Fork is right there.
Lakeford.
South of Lake Fork. Other questions for staff?
Cindy, when you just mentioned about the plat note, you said something about them being able to split it. What? Say that again?
Sure. The note that is currently on the plat says, lots shall not be reduced in size without prior approval from the health authority.
And so when we say reduced in size, are we talking about lot line adjustment? Oh, an
Split.
actual split.
But,
Okay.
yeah, because Central District Health wants to approve any division of land because they've released the sanitary restrictions. So they would have to, perk is what we typically
Right.
think, you know, and go through the health district to get those septic systems.
Okay.
We have been requiring in, you know, especially on the smaller type lots, a note that also extends to say, and Valley County Planning and Zoning,
Right.
because then they couldn't go in and split these with just a deed. Because a platted lot is considered an original parcel, which can be split one time. So it's up to the Planning and Zoning Commission to determine on this one with an 8-acre lot and a 6-acre lot, in this particular area, if you think it would be appropriate to extend that to say, and the Valley County Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay.
That's kind of the question with that note. Typically, we require them to do that.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Okay, other questions? I have a couple, Cinda. On the fence, number 9 on your note, under fencing plan necessary, and it says who is responsible for maintaining a fence. And I don't know if this is established by, you know, it's Idaho law or not, but typically, if you stand in the middle of the fence line with your adjacent neighbor, the fence that is to your left, the way you remember this is you put your hand on the wire on the fence and you shake hands with your neighbor across the fence, and that half is yours for responsibility. So that's typically the way it works. It's not the responsibility of the adjacent landowner to fence the entire property line. It's usually a 50-50 split.
The Title IX, Chapter 5 of the code, since you've applied for a conditional use permit, requires this agreement if there's cattle grazed on the adjoining property for 30 days. So it would be up to the applicant to determine whether or not there are cattle there. I mean, they need to talk to their neighbor. I don't know that there are cattle grazed.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, this is a residential property here. In fact, there was an airstrip on this property.
Years ago.
I
I'd be
don't know
curious.
if there are cattle grazed on this one, that it's the same owner.
So the reason you are asking the question on number 9 is for the benefit of who, and are you recommending that this be addressed in the,
Between now and when it goes to the board, I think the applicant needs to pursue whether or not a fencing agreement is needed.
okay,
Or work with staff before we get to the final plat. And we'll reach out to Jonathan and see if he grazes cattle. We could ask the assessor. And then there would have to be some sort of agreement,
right.
something in the record.
I mean, in any of the existing neighbor surrounding properties could put a couple head of cattle on a piece of property and continue to graze it, but that's something that they can work out in the future.
Right. And it is currently fenced.
Yeah, okay. The other question I have is dealing with the easements for irrigation ditches. And I think in the west side lake irrigation letter that Laura Bettis writes, she actually does a really good job lining out Idaho water law about maintaining the ditch to provide the water to downstream users. So if there is an existing ditch that runs through the property, that downstream water user has the right to continue to take that water through that. So that needs to be addressed somewhere. And if it's not, and I think you can capture it in your questions. I know you asked the question under number 2, irrigation easements or lots. So I think we just need to state that if there is irrigation for downstream users, that easement shall be reserved for that.
It's just making sure that they're aware that if there's an easement, it needs to be shown here.
Right.
And then, of course, they have to follow the water law. And this note, there's a note about irrigation, there should be. I will have to make sure that that note is on here. Typically, the local surveyors put the note on that they have to follow the irrigation rules. And we'll make sure that note's on here.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff?
No.
Okay. At this time, we'll go ahead and hear from the applicant for the final plat. You state your name and address for the record, and then try to address some of the questions that staff has raised within their report. Thank you.
Chairman, Commissioners, my name is David Crawford with Centurion Engineers, 2323 South Vista Avenue in Boise. I'm here representing the landowner in regards to our 2-lot subdivision. Cinda's done a wonderful job putting this together and talking about some of the items that need further discussion. We have presented a final plat that's consistent with the preliminary plat approved in October, I believe, by the commission here. There's been a number of things talked about. There hasn't been cattle grazed on any lands here for quite some time. So they do have leases that they can graze cattle, and the fence, and that's why the property's already fenced. So we could go further and finish up a fencing agreement if the commission finds that appropriate. The complicated one is going to be an irrigation easement. Irrigation water rights in Idaho are strange at best and vary from community to community. I've researched this quite a bit over the past several months. The property is in an irrigation district. It does have a water right. It does not have any access to water. On our original preliminary plat, we showed a couple of open ditches near the southwest corner of the property that kind of show up as what appear to be wet spots. Those are actually more of a drain. They do not have any access to utilize that water for water rights. It's purely for cattle watering. That's the only thing they can use it for. I'm always hesitant to reserve easements specifically in specific locations because they have the ability to move these ditches where they need to water their cattle. And so if we moved it out of the easement, it would no longer comply with where the easement is. So I did a little bit of research and I went back to Idaho Code, and Title 42, 1102 is that any servient estate owner shall be deemed to have noticed that an owner of a ditch, canal, lateral, drain, or conduit has the right of way and all incidental rights confirmed or granted by this section. So it's much like when I'll reserve an easement on a plat for a pathway, for example. We don't put, it may meander through the property. We don't put monuments on the ground showing the location of the pathway. We say that the pathway witnesses the easement. We did that recently in Patty Summit subdivision. So Idaho Code has definitely thought about this. It's been around for a while. I know that we do reserve specific easements when they're specifically necessary, but when they can be moved or relocated as necessary by the landowners, it's self-defeating. A specifically reserved easement on a plat, if we were to move a ditch, would then have to come before you and have that easement vacated and a new one put down. So that's why I hesitate to put a very specific easement here. If it is used for grazing, they have a stock watering pond that they want to put in, they have the right to do that. And then does that easement need to be expanded at that point, or is it witnessed by the evidence of its use? So I'll stand for any questions you have about that.
I happen to be on an irrigation company, so I know a little bit about water law.
Mm-hmm.
I think what will work here is there's also, if you read further into Title 42, there's a section that deals with method of conveyance.
Mhm.
And there's an opportunity for the landowner to change that method of conveyance. And it speaks to a concept of where the water enters your property and where it exits your property. As long as you deliver the ability for that water to get from point A to point B, you can move it basically how you want. You can put it in a pipeline, you can put it in an open ditch, but the concept is that you allow the water to flow through your property to the downstream user. So I absolutely understand about your reluctance to say, oh, this is where the ditch is going to be, because it may not be there. But I think there is a concept that if there is a downstream user that historically had pulled water through your property, that as long as you get it from point A to point B, you're fine.
Yeah, and Commissioner, Chairman, Commissioners, I totally agree with that. I was going to propose that we would put a note referencing Title 42 of the code in there so that we'd have that irrigation note on there and warning that would notify the future property owners.
That's the note I was talking
Yeah,
about.
and I think that's very
There
appropriate.
is another note that is standard. It's Title 313805 regarding irrigation water. And it relates back to whether, if it's in an irrigation district, whether it's pressurized, whether it's a gravity delivery to each lot within the subdivision. This is in a district, it has a right, but doesn't have access to it. So the existing home waters from its well. So I thought the 313805 would be pretty superfluous in this instance.
That, in Laura Bettis's letter that she wrote to us, she talks about it's not part of the irrigation district, but there is, it's called lateral, and you'll have a lateral users that it's their responsibility to maintain that ditch. You can get water for that property, but you'd have to, you and the other landowners that depend on that delivery pipe. And I believe there's a, if I remember correctly, there's a siphon that runs under State Highway 55 near there is how the water used to get there.
Yeah.
And it can be reestablished.
And so when I talked to the property owner about that, specifically about this instance, the ditch exists at kind of the lowest part of the property. The north part of the property is high, up by Trabert Lane. It's higher than the south end of the property. So I spoke at length with them, and they said they were informed by the district that they didn't have access to the water. The only thing that they could use it for was stock watering. So I didn't mean to misspeak. That's just what I was told. So if it is in the district and they do have access to water, that's just not the way it was presented to me. So perhaps we can chase that down a little more.
So what I see on here is when I click on the irrigation districts, this doesn't actually show up as an irrigation district. This is
So
a company.
it's an irrigation company, I believe.
But when I looked at just one of our more recent, this is the note, it's subject to Idaho Code 31-3805. And you could put, it is within the irrigation company, whatever it's called, along with your other note.
Yep.
I think that would work.
And I think adding that and then the concept that he raised about the in Title 42, I think both of those would be appropriate.
Yeah, I think we could accomplish that.
Anything else that you'd like to address on the list of questions that Cinda had in her?
Yes, I spoke with the owner. There is no fiber optic available to their home at this time. And what other thing were we talking about? I think that was it. They do have access to power.
Change the plat note number 1.
Yeah. And we can certainly do that to add the Valley County. That,
Planning and zoning.
yeah.
Any other
Would be
questions for the applicant? I think we drilled down the water issues pretty well.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, commissioners. but- Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
At this point in time, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone in
It's
the,
not a public hearing.
oh, that's right, not a public hearing. Sorry. That's right, we're a final plat. I even have a note here too. Says that. Okay, at this point in time, is there any other discussion? We have a couple items to add to the plat, dealing with the water rights issues in the two sites in Idaho Code 42 and Title 31. And
Change note number 1.
change on note number 1.
And is this a recommendation to the board? This is, okay.
So the final plat, you approve, authorize the chairman to sign the plat, and then there's the 10-day appeal period. Someone could appeal your decision.
Okay.
Are you ready to make a motion?
I can do that.
Heidi?
I'll make a motion to approve CUP 24-27 Sal Ranch subdivision final plat and authorize the chairman to sign with the modification of plat note 1, including Valley County Planning and Zoning oversight, and making sure that there's plat notes relating to Idaho Code Section 31 and 42.
Okay, is there a
Did you
second?
authorize the chairman to sign?
She did.
Yes.
Sorry.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion has passed, and there is a 10-day appeal period. Thank you for your attendance. Okay, we'll move on to new business. Next item on the agenda is conditional use permit 23-54. It's a Lakeport storage extension request. This one is a hearing as well, so Cinda?
Ex parte.
Oh, yes. Is there any ex parte or conflicts of interest?
No.
No. Okay.
Okay, staff report for CUP 2354 Lakeport Storage Extension Request. The applicant is Lakeport Holdings LLC. The property is addressed at 13924B Highway 55 in Hinson Subdivision Lot C, located in the northwest of Section 3, Township 17 North, Range 3 east of the Boise Meridian, Valley County, Idaho. They're requesting a 2-year extension of the conditional use permit. The 2 additional buildings adjacent to the existing 8 existing buildings were to be established by February 21st of 2025. The extension is requested as the applicant was constrained in both time and resources, construction schedules, and availability of building materials during construction season of 2024. Each tan and green building would be approximately 11,952 square feet in size. Each building would contain 40 boats and trailers. The buildings would be over 600 feet from Rogers Lane. All buildings would continue to be used as dry public storage facilities for boats and trailers, and landscaping would be completed in 2025. Primary access would be through Mile High Power Sports onto 55, with secondary access from Rogers Lane, and the site is 13.5 acres. The extension request was submitted on November 22nd, 2024. Legal notice was posted in the Star News on December 19th and December 26th. Potentially affected agencies were notified December 10th. Neighbors were notified December 11th. The site was posted December 19th, and it was posted on the Valley County website on December 10th. Agency comments received. Mike Reno, Central District Health, has no objections to the request. Garrett DeYoung, McCall Fire Chief, stated the fire district approves the storage buildings, and there were no public comment received. Staff comments and questions. Condition of approval number 5. An approval letter from McCall was received March 27th. Number 6, approval from Central District Health will be required with any building permit. An approval letter is required from Lake Irrigation District, because it's in the irrigation district. An approved ITD access permit or an ITD stating a permit is not required must be submitted to staff. The applicant is requesting an extension of landscaping installation to 2025. Did the applicant control noxious weeds during 2024? No outside storage is allowed. A stormwater management plan shall be approved by the Valley County engineer prior to issuance of building permits. And has the required trash receptacle been placed on site? Is the site being kept in a neat and orderly manner? The landscaping that we would like to see happen, I mean, they've placed landscaping on the northern border on Rogers.
There was some required on the east side, I know.
Right, on the east side screening.
Right.
For this neighbor here. And then on the south side, because when you're driving up our Payette River National Scenic Byway and you look over here, all you see is big buildings, and we needed some screening on these buildings. And I don't know if you want to withhold building permits until such time that the landscaping's put in, or until such time that they get the ITD permit. We really do have to have the ITD permit before we issue the building permits, I would think.
So there's still not a permit. It's an upgrade to their approach? Is that what it is?
That's up to ITD.
And
They need to communicate with ITD and ask them if they need a new access permit.
Right.
They need to upgrade it.
And so, but when this was originally approved, ITD, that wasn't part of it?
There have been 2 phases,
Okay.
and they started it, then they came back for additional buildings.
Right.
The original applications were in 2018, 18-11. And then we had the CUP 2354, which approved the additional buildings. And now they're asking for an extension to continue those buildings.
So in the conditional use permit that we approved about a year ago, or a year and a half ago, had these conditions of approval in it that they were supposed to do.
Okay.
And I think Cinda, that's why you're asking these questions. Number one, the letter from McCall, City of McCall was received, so that's been done. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that's off the list. Okay. Any other questions for Cinda?
Yeah, so, but before I would issue a building permit, I want to see the letter from Lake Irrigation District, the ITD access permit, your decision on the landscaping. And then before they turn any dirt, they need the site grading stormwater management plan.
Okay. If I remember the hearing correctly, there was several people that had testified, adjoining neighbors, about the need for landscaping. And I think that's why we actually put it in as a condition of approval.
Right, but if we issue, my concern is if we issue building permits before the landscaping is done,
Then
what's our guarantee that the landscaping is going to be
will it
done?
ever be done? Right.
So either financially guaranteed or in before we issue the building permits.
Okay. Okay, Cinda, are you done with your staff report?
Yes, I am, thank you.
There are questions for staff on the staff report. Okay. Hearing,
One question, I
Oh,
guess, real
yes.
quick. Were there any timelines outlined on when the landscaping was supposed to be installed prior to October 1st, 2024?
They were just supposed to have it completed by then, and they don't have it completed yet.
Because they didn't finish the other 2 buildings, or I guess we'll cover those in the questions later.
Well, they didn't,
With-
yeah, they didn't. Have we issued the building permits? No.
Okay.
I mean, what is our hammer to enforce some of the conditions?
Mm-hmm.
Or do we need financial guarantees of some sort?
Understood.
It's,
more questions? We'll go ahead and hear from the applicant. Come and state your name and address for the record.
Dave Daniel with Cleary Building, 326 East Franklin Road in Meridian. Good evening, Commissioner and all commissioners. Thank you for listening to me tonight. Sorry, I'm tired. It's been a long day. First thing I want to address is landscaping. Part of this is I was going to request that we do it at time of construction due to the fact that on the east side, we are going to have a tremendous amount of traffic going through, which is going to destroy anything we plant. So it's kind of a wasted point of money to put something in that we're just going to turn around and destroy and then have to replace again. The southern end is going to also have some other additional work in before, and we're going to do that at the same time as our preparation work is going to be done, because we're going to be doing additional grading around the roads on the south side and down the center as well. That's going to be involved in part of the drainage portion of it. So we can figure out how to work out the landscaping portion of that would be fantastic. Part of the reason that he's asking for the extension, the owner of this property, Sam Worley, is also the owner of the marina down in McCall, and he had a very huge project with the city of McCall that just basically enveloped and consumed his life last year, and it kind of overran everything away from this one. We kept trying to start, and had to keep pushing back because of multiple delays and stuff on the other end. So now we're ready to start this year and start the projects on this year. ITD letter, I have spoken with them. It won't be an issue getting the letter from ITD. And what's the other letter needed? I apologize. Cinda? Irrigation, yeah, that won't be a problem either.
Have you contacted, you said you have contacted ITD officially?
Yeah, I've talked to them.
Officially?
They have not issued the letter yet because we haven't started into the processes of the other items.
And then have you contacted the Lake Irrigation District yet?
I did talk with them. I have not requested their letter, but they did not see any issues with this.
Can you talk about condition of approval on number 15 about the control of noxious weeds, and then also the other ones about the trash receptacle, that kind of stuff?
Past receptacle and stuff, I did talk with the neighbor, and we are going to put a barrier up during construction as he requested as well. The receptacle he did add one receptacle on the property. And we're going to have another large receptacle on site during construction, so everything will go right into that cycle and be moved off during construction. The noxious weeds that was on there, they did spray 3 times last year for weeds. So he did do the portion of that. I know he had them out there spraying heavily.
Okay. Questions for the applicant?
I have a question. So when we talk about an approach for ITD, that's because they're going to use the approach at Mile High? So they're going to go through this southern portion right to the, okay. Got it.
They actually do have access from Rogers.
Right.
But as mitigation to these neighbors, they have to direct their traffic through here.
Got it.
Except for the construction trucks, which can come down through here.
Okay.
To simplify that a little bit for you also, no customers are allowed back there. This is strictly employees that the customer calls for their boat, they prep the boat and then take it to the marina, and then that's
Right.
it. So we limit any excesses in there. That was part of the study that we had to do for the original one.
You can, I'm just going to raise the issue and maybe help us solve this problem maybe this evening. Back to Cinda's concern about assuring that the landscaping will be done. And if a condition of approval is not met, then it becomes a violation of the conditional use permit. And I believe the conditional use permit could be revoked. Is that correct?
Yes,
Building permit would have already been issued.
and constructed.
So there's really no guarantee.
Where's the choke point?
Yeah.
So is there, my question, I guess, would be, I understand that if you're gonna go in here, this could destroy landscaping if it's done beforehand. It doesn't seem like a good order for things. Is there a way that the final on the building permit is not issued unless, could it be based on could we push it to the building department to require that as part of the final sign off? Or is it not going to get tracked that far?
There, I'm not 100% sure on that because I don't know that you need a final permit on a storage unit.
We do.
You do?
You have to have full final inspection, so
So yes, final, that could be, they won't get final until their landscaping's in. I had written that down here. Maybe final, withhold the occupancy. Maybe it's the occupancy I'm thinking of. They need the final inspection, they don't need occupancy.
Okay.
Okay, does that
Part of
sound,
that, I did mean to interrupt, sir. If it's on our plan, if we show the landscaping on the plans, that's part of what he has to inspect as well. It should be inspected and verified that it's
No, he
completed.
doesn't.
he's only doing the building?
This would be a special.
Typically,
Right.
he will check with me and make sure that it's okay.
And the other options are to put a financial guarantee such as a letter of credit and or bond, have them bonded. But if there's leverage on the final sign off on the building permit, and that would have to be special instructions to the building department. Send a,
Okay. I'll put it on the building permit as a condition.
I think you're hearing us that we're pretty serious
Oh,
about this.
no, yeah, I do. I totally understand 100%, and I do this on a regular basis with multiple other structures. Some areas we have to have zoning inspection prior to our final inspections as well. I didn't finish my statement, that's what I should have said. So if you have it, like in Ada County, Boise City, a few others, in order for us to get our occupancy and for our final inspection, before I can call for my final inspection, even though it's a structural, I have to have all of my other components completed. In other words, I have to have sign off of zoning and everything, that all of my landscaping, everything has been completed before the final will even be allowed, because my final gives me my occupancy. And that's typical.
Okay, all right.
One other thing,
Cinda,
will you describe the landscaping that's gonna be put in, because I think your plan was pretty, as far as documentation, was pretty weak.
We did some research, I apologize, I have to remember the name of the trees, but we have some taller trees that we're gonna put in along the south side and up the east. The ones on the east, as we discussed last time, we want them to bloom out more, so it kind of blocks more, not just a vertical. But they've also, because the ground there, they have to be able to establish within 3 years to where you don't have to do a consistent watering. The ground there's extremely wet, but it also drops rapidly in the later in the year, so it's kind of a weird ground. Plus, we're raising the ground quite a bit in order to come up off the water table. I apologize. I had it on another form and I left it on my desk. But the trees that we're putting onto the east and in the south, we kind of looked at some of the ones. It's not a spruce or a fir along that line. They're going to be more of a bloom, so it does branch out and block and gives you more of a rounded finish on it. It's not going to. It's design the same thing that they do through the cities, just to block the building behind it. So I've got another project I'm doing in Boise right now. It's a building that's huge like this one, and the same thing is they want a blooming style tree that's going to cover 25 to 35 feet wide and up to 30 feet tall. And I will have those notated on the plot or on our site plan.
what, the landscaping plan?
Yes.
Okay. And Cindy, are you in receipt of the landscaping plan?
I have not been able to find, here we go. The original landscaping plan that was put in with phase one, but it doesn't show the extension of landscaping down here or down here.
If I recall, those other areas were added at the hearing at the last meeting.
You know, they do show a line of trees down through here, but then their buildings were configured differently at that time too.
Right.
So maybe the way to deal with that would be to submit the written landscaping plan with the building permit application. And then that would give the building inspector something to compare it to. Good idea.
What kind of trees are we talking about? Evergreens, deciduous trees? I mean, is it gonna give cover year round or just,
Well, they're a leaf tree, so they're gonna shed their leaves in the fall. But unless you want me to go to an evergreen or something along that line.
you only get coverage part of the year? I don't know.
Maybe a mix?
It's a mix.
Yeah, I'd
Might be
say
nice.
stagger it. If you had one or something like, some of that, along that line, because otherwise it's all gone. What's the point?
Right.
And a lot of times what we have them do is, the ordinance says one tree for every 25 feet of linear space, but we ask them to kind of group those so it's more attractive, so it's not just a straight line of trees. You know, so it's more attractive. We don't want to totally screen a building, we just want something that's attractive.
Yeah, and year round,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Is there room for those trees along the south edge?
It's
Looks
tight.
like that's right on the.
It's
border.
tight. But that's the other thing we've got to look at and see what we can do. So we're not gonna be pushing way out or something we're gonna have to constantly trim from the building.
There's supposed to be a 30-foot setback here.
Yeah, we're 30 feet, but you put a tree in that goes 30 feet. You've got
So maybe
another
put
problem.
it here
It's true.
and here. I mean, with just a couple breakups.
A couple spruce trees would fit in that
Yeah.
area pretty decently.
30 feet.
Just a couple on that lower end.
Yeah.
We could even do one over in the corner, so you have, three
Groups.
across there. It kind of blends it in a little better, and then a few on the backside.
So I'm
Let's,
gonna recommend that the landscaping plan be part of the submission and submit it to the P and Z administrator for their review.
I concur.
Makes sense.
Because I don't think we're landscapers.
okay, and I'll require it to break up the building, so the building doesn't look so stark there.
And basically follow our landscaping ordinances. Right. Okay, anything else for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
This is a public hearing. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of the proposal of the extension? Seeing none, is there anyone who is undecided that would like to speak? Seeing none, is there anyone that is opposed or opponent to the extension request? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back for deliberations amongst the commission.
I have a question for staff. So for the stormwater management plan, ITD, irrigation district, those conditions, you will not issue the building permit until those are met?
I will not issue the building permit until he has his ITD approval, his irrigation letter, his landscaping plan, his site grading stormwater management plan approved by the Valley County engineer. He should not be doing any site work out here until that site grading stormwater management plan is approved by the Valley County engineer.
Great, thank you.
Those are basically the conditions of approval that we've been discussing.
Just as a reminder.
I think the only thing that we might want to address is that in the motion would be that this landscaping plan would be approved by the P and Z administrator, submitted and approved.
I have must submit landscaping plan with building permit and landscaping must be placed prior to issuance of, prior to final inspection approval.
Further discussion?
Not for me.
Is there a motion?
Well, go ahead.
Okay. I right, I would move to approve CUP 23-54 Lakeport Storage Extension Request with stated conditions with staff.
Is there a second?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve the extension request for conditional use permit 23-54, the Lakeport Storage. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion has passed. This is appealable. There's a 10-day appeal period which anyone can apply, appeal the decision. Okay, thank you for your attendance this evening. We will go ahead and address the other item that was on new business has been delayed until the March, a regular March meeting, the Webster.
Or April, no.
Or April?
She decided she wanted to go to April. April 10th.
Okay, so not March.
Because then she can guarantee that she can be here. And that'll allow us also to take additional pictures.
Do we want to
Right,
table that until that specific time, or
please.
is there a motion to do that?
April 10th, 6 p.m.
I'll make a motion that we delay hearing for variance 24006 until April 10th
6 p.m.
at 6 p.m.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We moved and seconded to table variance 24-006, the Webster setback variance, to April 10th at 6 p.m. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? And motion has passed. Okay, next up is facts and conclusions. It's an action item for conditional use permit 24-24 at Gold Fork River Ranch and conditional use permit 24-31 the Pearson Ranch. Is there-
So can you do those separately because,
I know, I'm just gonna say that. Yeah, let's run these in separate motions. I will have to abstain from voting on the first one.
I would move that we approve facts and conclusions for CUP 24-31 Pearson Ranch and authorize the chairman to sign.
I'll second.
We moved and seconded to approve, which one did you do? Just the
She
first
did.
one, right?
The second one.
She
Oh,
did the
just
second.
Pearson or Ranch, 24-31. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion has passed.
And I'll make a motion to approve the facts and conclusions for CUP 24-24 Gold Fork River Ranch.
And I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. These guys, they could vote.
We
if they
abstain.
want.
Okay.
If they want to.
but I want to interject it at the any discussion point.
Yeah.
Are you there yet?
We have a second on the motion. So the motion is to approve the facts and conclusion. I want the record to state that I have a conflict of interest and I will not be voting on the issue.
So before you vote, I would like to clarify with the two members that were here that night that we did make some changes to those conditions. I believe we forwarded you an email. And I just want that on the record that those were changed from last Thursday. I think we changed them by Monday to better describe what was discussed. And I said assess instead of access, and I mean, there was a few little changes.
Just for procedure, those will be part of the public record once they're approved this evening.
Yeah, it's version 2 they're approving.
Yes,
I wanted to make sure
Yes,
that
I received that and reviewed it.
those were the ones that you guys were approving.
Yes.
Okay.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion has passed. And let the record state that the two new members and the chairman did not vote. Thank you. Okay.
Pearson Ranch, if you want to sign that.
Yeah.
And I will have other longevity person who's been here like 6 months.
Don't forget. Once a year.
Holy
What's the 9?
Versus Ed Allen's 19 years.
Actually, I think it's a year.
You're just beginning, Carrie, into your 19-year stint.
Yay. Yay, me.
Your sentence.
Okay, we have two other things that are, we have two other items on the agenda. One is election of officers for this next year and discuss the meeting dates for 2025. And then maybe after that, we can have just a discussion, introduce ourselves to one another as part of the discussion. So, election for officers. We need to appoint or elect a secretary, which has traditionally been Cinda, and to elect a chairman and a vice chairman. I would entertain a motion for Cinda to be the secretary.
I'll make a motion to elect Cinda Herrick as secretary for the Valley County Planning and Zoning Commission for 2025.
I'll second that.
Oh, you'll
Go ahead.
I'll second that motion.
Hey, it's been moved and seconded to elect Cinda as our secretary. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
I.
Aye.
What an honor. Thank you. Thank you. Jerry Winkle used to always make a motion for somebody else. Just to bother me.
That's the fun part.
And I'll make a motion to elect Ken Roberts as chairman and Carrie Potter as vice chair for Valley County Planning and Zoning Commission for 2025.
I would second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Can I discuss for a second? I am willing to serve as chairman. I am pretty busy with a lot of things, and we'll discuss that later. But my hope is that that maybe over the next year or so, that some of you will step into these roles as well, so we can kind of share responsibility. Basically, it's facilitating a meeting, but I appreciate your confidence. I'll do the best I can, and when I'm not here, Jerry, it's yours. So
Amy.
thank you for your.
I think as we gain experience, we certainly would like to help however we can, but in the meantime, one meeting in or 3/4 of a meeting in, we really appreciate your experience.
All right. Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
I.
Aye. Those opposed? And motion has passed. Congratulations. Okay, next item on our agenda is the meeting dates for 2025. I asked Cinda earlier today if there had been any discussion about changing those, and she said, "You want to wreck my life?" For the
My life for 29 years has been built around that day.
And basically, that day is the second Thursday of every month is our regular meeting. Is there anyone that would like to disrupt Cinda's life? It's the meeting day.
Everything focuses on that meeting day.
It's already on my calendar for
Me
this
too.
year. So, yeah.
And I believe,
Safe this time.
I believe we do need a motion to establish those as our meeting dates for the 2025 year. Someone would like to do that.
I'll make a motion that the monthly Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for 2025 be on the second Thursday of the month at 6 p.m.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to establish the meeting dates, second Thursday at 6 p.m. of each month. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Motion has passed. That concludes our agenda, and I'd like to go ahead and adjourn the meeting for a get-to-know time amongst the commissioners.
I don't think that needs to be recorded.
No,
We won't
it's-
be talking about any business and
so we'll stand adjourned.